How for all you've done to your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it. I mean,
and it's still real to us, guys. Hey, everybody, welcome to this special edition Wednesday night of It's Still Real to Me wrestling show with
Bang!
Jeremy Johnson, Randy Cunningham. I am the
I'm
Howie
Diamond
Channey.
Dallas Page tonight.
All right, Diamond Dallas Page, Jeremy Johnson, and Howie Channey here tonight. Guys, I sent you a thing that I saw something a couple of days ago. Sports Illustrated put out their top 20 WWE wrestlers of all time. And the criteria, I don't know if y'all have looked it up or saw it or anything like that, but the criteria has to be popularity, because this top 20 list is not necessarily on their performance basis. So we're going to run through it real quick, and y'all give me the yay or nay if you think they deserve to be on there or not. And apparently Jeremy's already looked it up because he's shaking his head no.
Jeremy's a hater anyway.
Well, I mean, they got one thing right. There's a certain tag team that's not on here that doesn't deserve to be on here, but they didn't get it.
Young Bucks were number one.
No.
They hadn't been in WWE yet, and there were no tag teams that was on here.
Right.
It was all singles, and we're going to start with number 20, which number 20 was the only female competitor that was on it.
Yeah.
And that is Becky Lynch. So I'll call the names out, and y'all say yay or nay if y'all think they deserve to be in the top 20 all-time WWE wrestlers. So Becky Lynch, Randy.
Yay.
Jeremy?
I say yes, but I also know there are several other females that probably are equal to Becky that may deserve to be on this list.
So my 1 point to counter him is no woman has went higher in popularity than Becky Lynch did over that short run. She had a stone cold type 24 months run before she got became with child.
To your point, it all started by accident.
It all started because Nia Jax cold cocked her one night on Raw. Let's just put it the way it really was.
And she's still doing it today.
Stone Cold started by accident.
That's true. So that tells you what perfect timing.
Perfect timing. That's right. Go ahead.
And it may be an accident that she ended up having to step away for a little while. Wasn't expecting the.
It could have been.
So let's go on to number 19, Mick Foley, Jeremy Johnson.
Yes, and yes, and here's why: because the different personas that he was able to pull off, each one, the least popular would be Do Love, but everything else he hit right on, perfect, and it was timing again.
Dude Love was happy-go-lucky. Randy?
No,
not at all. All
right. No, and here's why. And I'm going to take my 30 seconds here. Mick Foley is one of the greatest WWE superstars of all time. But if you're telling me to name 19 guys better, I can do it very easily.
Yeah. And when you really think about it, I mean, if everybody hears the name Mick Foley, what do they remember the most?
Comedy.
Well, they remember him falling off the top of the cage. That's what everybody remembers him for.
I got to admit, a little bit of it is the comedy. And when I think of comedy, I think of R-Truth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, number 18, Chris Jericho. Randy?
Absolutely.
Jeremy?
And I know he's going to get some hate. Nobody has been more prevalent longer than Chris Jericho has.
Now we're just talking WWE now, not overall, just WWE.
Look, first undisputed heavyweight champion. He's got a 20-year run in the WWE, and nobody looks at that. I mean, I want everybody to remember this. He was in Smoky Mountain Wrestling prior to going to the WWE. He was in ECW. He was in WCW. Then he has a 20-year run in WWE, and he's been in AEW 7 years. 3 of them great. 4 of them I'm going to tend to agree with Jeremy.
Yeah.
He was in the car the night Jim Cornette goes off on the poor lady at the Dairy Queen.
That ought to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Chris Jericho was, think of the guys he was across the ring from.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes him a top 18 no matter what.
Oh, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm going to, and I had to sit there and think, and I'm glad you asked Randall to go first, because if I really think about it and I only think about his pre-AEW run, that 20 years in the WWE was stellar. Even toward the back half of that, some of those gimmick changes. One of my favorite things was at the latter part of that was him and the dang list. That owned me. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was great. His smugness, yes, and all that. I really loved it. I really bought him as a heel. That he held the tag team titles. One of my favorite tag teams was Jericho with the Big Show. I thought it was a good tag team.
And at the same time, the arch rival of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit in Japan and the WWE.
Yeah.
He's there. Matter of fact, he's higher on my list. He's borderline Mount Rushmore for me. He's not, but he's that high up.
If you gauged him on his overall career or this last 10, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I'm like, y'all know how I feel about Jericho right now. So, but WWE run, yes.
Number 17 with Jeremy Johnson going first. CM Punk.
This one's tough for me but I will say I'm gonna say yes, and here's why. Because he became world champion in his first run. He held the world championship. He was obviously controversial. This run has been spectacular. It's been very good. And that's not even involving a title. That's him and Drew McIntyre, which a lot of credit to Drew McIntyre. I'd say he's one of the most popular. Now, whether he deserved to be on here, I don't know. I'm going to say yes. Now, I know Randall's going to disagree with me on that, but
I think he's going to surprise us. Go ahead, Randy.
I hate CM Punk. I think the name Punk is right.
Tell me how you feel about it.
But the pipe bomb is the biggest moment in Raw history. Mm-hmm. That 5-minute, 7-minute promo would put him on this list for me if he never accomplished anything else.
No, I agree.
I remember watching the pipe bomb, and when it was over, I thought wrestling would never be the same. And it has been.
Yes.
He broke that fourth wall, and nobody's ever put it back. It just keep getting more and more broke, and I like it.
So how long was that? Was he away 7 years, 10 years from wrestling? How long was he away before he came back to AEW?
Several years. I mean,
it was between that 7 and 10 years.
Yeah, people were clamoring. There were rumors every year about CM Punk returning.
The WWE return will never be as good to me as the AEW return.
I will say that was electric. Of course, they had about five introductions that night, which kind of put a damper on it. But That's Tony
But
Khan for you.
he didn't slap Jungle Boy around stage and punk him out. And the guy lost to Mickey Alt in the UFC room. Next, he is a top 20 all time. He might even be higher than that, guys, just to be honest.
As much as I like CM Punk, I don't think he's in the top 20, period.
Oh.
But,
well, I hate him, and I put him there, so that shows you something.
Yeah.
So, Randy, we'll go with you at number 16, Andre the Giant.
Oh, Jesus, that's too low for Andre. Might be the biggest star in the history of wrestling. Yes. Yes, the Giant. I'm not even going to speak. The one man that fired the Freebirds, and the Freebirds left forever. That's what stroke Andre had was.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you agree with 17? Or
no,
too low? Too low?
It's too
16,
low. It's too low. It's too low to me. He's got to be in that top 5 at least, at a minimum, because he was an attraction, and we hear that all the time. But Vince Sr. really relied on him. Vince Jr. really relied on him. And you think about one of the most popular matches in the WWF history, WrestleMania 3, and the body slam, which was not the first time he'd been body slammed, but everybody thought it was. That's one of the biggest events in wrestling history. So he's got to be there.
There is no Hulk Hogan without Roddy Piper and Andre the Giant.
No, I agree with that.
If Roddy Piper ain't on this list, I'm throwing my damn phone across the room. Go.
All right, number 15 for Jeremy Johnson be Randy Orton.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I think at the end of the day, once Randy's career is over, he's going to be one of those that they're going to consider that may get in around Mount Rushmore list. And I think because of his longevity, I know he's had some help. I think the persona that he has, he's not really changed his gimmick. He's not changed his gimmick.
He's the legend killer.
Especially in, and he hasn't needed to. And he's doing great work now. And for the sea of, he still looks fantastic. If only I could look that good, right? And
you do to us, Jeremy. So
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm no Cabana Man Dan, I'll tell you that.
y'all have mentioned something. That's why I don't think CM Punk should be in the top 20. It's the longevity. I don't, I think people should be, if you're going to be the greatest of all time, you should be a part of something for a long time, not just a few years. So give CM Punk a few more years, then yeah, he probably does. It's just like a couple of these people that's going into the NFL Hall of Fame. Yeah, they were great, but their longevity wasn't long enough. Terrell Davis is one of them that I think of. Yeah, he had a great run at Denver for what took him to Super Bowl several years, but his longevity just wasn't.
Yeah.
6 years he played?
Yeah.
To me, that's not long enough to be a greatest of all time. But anyway, what's your name? Over there to the left. Yeah.
My name's Randall.
Randy, what do you think about Randy Orton?
Okay, you ready for me to go heel?
Go for it.
Okay, Randy Orton is the greatest semi-main event wrestler of all time.
Elaborate.
He's never been the whole show. He's never been the that brought people in the building. He's always been the other guy. Dusty Rhodes brought people in the building. He taught people in the building. Randy Orton made people hate him, but it was the love of the other guy that brought him into the building. If you think back through WrestleManias, Randy Orton had some of the greatest moments in WrestleMania. He never was on top of that card. It was always somebody else. So, greatest, if you consider semi-main event, the greatest semi-main event wrestler of all time. And I'm not kidding. I do consider him that. He is the greatest journeyman of all time. But he never was the man. And I'm not talking about Becky Lynch.
Somebody Channey's got something to say about that.
I mean, he was in main event, so I wouldn't call him semi-main event. And you said it, it was the love of the other party, whether it be John Cena or whoever, that really brought people in. And you may be right, but you don't have great baby faces, not faces, baby faces, unless you have great heels. So, in my opinion,
who is Randy Orton's greatest rival?
I mean, I got to put Cena up there.
You wouldn't put Rock in front of that? You wouldn't put Triple H in front of that? I'm just saying, the guy just never was. To me, he is. You put a card together. Another one, I show you. I'm not showing him disrespect. I think Randy's in the same category. So, yes. So it's not disrespect. It's just where are you slotted on the card? I think he's a great guy to slot there.
To your point, Randy, and I agree with you 100%. Randy Orton has main evented WrestleMania twice, but it wasn't because of him. It was because once against Triple H, which we all know he's the main event, and the other one was the other one was it don't really say what it was, but it was like a triple threat match. So it wasn't him being the main event of the main card of the main event, however you want to look at it. So I agree with you.
And oftentimes his main event was overshadowed. And I got to throw this name out there. The man worked in the shadow of the Undertaker for 2 decades. So you might have the Undertaker not be in the main event, but I was there to see the Taker.
I got
you. For Randy to be the superstar of all.
Yeah, it's the same way with that one of those main events at the WrestleMania. Were people there to see Randy Orton? Or were they there to see Triple H?
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing against Randy Orton. I love his character, but he's just never been. He's not Stone Cold or Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes to me.
Right. All right. We'll go with Randy at number 14 with Edge.
Boy, that's a hard one. That's almost the same category. But I tell you what, I separates them to me is Edge kind of nudged himself into that category with SmackDown. If we all remember SmackDown when it started, Edge was the man on SmackDown. So they launched that brand kind of on Edge. So I'm going to say yes to Edge. But again, we saw Edge wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship at a WrestleMania. It was about 4 matches down from Xena, Eddie Guerrero. It was Edge and Alberto Del Rio. That's not the top of the card. That's kind of but where Edge was on the top, it was the whole scene with Jeff Hardy, the great tag matches. I'm gonna put Edge. I'm gonna slot Edge just 1 or 2 spots in front of Randy Orton.
Jeremy.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, I guess I could put Edge in front of Randy. I agree with Randy. I think one thing about Edge, and you mentioned the Dudleys and you mentioned the Hardys, which to me is that's the top of the top when it comes to tag teams.
That's the point. His tag team wrestling might be better than his individual.
So
yeah, his run with Sam and Christian for all those years was really good.
Over times his singles.
So So the one thing though that, and you said singles, I feel like he had a very good singles run when you compare him to, if we use that group of tag teams, his singles run was better than Christian's, obviously. Singles run is better than either one of the Dudleys. They never really, whatever Devon was at that point, and he had Deacon Batista with him. Better than Bubba's. I would say it's close with Jeff's, and definitely better than Matt Hardy's. I mean, I put his singles run at equal to Randy's, and his best work was a tag team. So
Good point. Good.
All right, Mr. Jeremy Johnson, we are at number 13. 13. You got it, Randy? Number 13.
13.
Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yes, without a doubt. When Randy said that, I looked the list over, so I knew. Without a doubt, Rowdy Roddy Piper has to be on this list because, like Randy said, and I agree, there is no Hulk Hogan to the extent that he was without Roddy Piper, without Andre the Giant. And Roddy was, it makes you wish that he had more time in the WWF. Now, that you go back to longevity, if you really think about his career, he really wasn't in the WWF that long, but what an impact he made while he was there. So what a difference. So he's got to be in here.
He kept reason he's not on higher on that list. I'm going to quote one of. I would go to one match. I think he made Hogan, but I also think the match him and Bret Hart had for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania made Bret Hart. So two of the stars of that generation was made the hands of Rowdy Roddy Piper. A lot of heat for saying this. Best heel in the business to me, better than Flair, who consider second. Just because people want to heel Roddy Piper when he was a heel.
No, they legit did. Yeah,
they love Flair and the Four Horsemen. People hated Piper.
Yeah.
What about the match between Piper and Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, the Bronco match?
The backstage brawl?
Yes.
Yes. Hey, great. That was kind of the end of Roddy's career, but still, of the theatrical matches, I think the AJ Styles Undertaker may be my favorite one, but by far Roddy and Dustin is up in my top 2 or 3 on those. Let's start somewhere else and finish up. There is a great, I know we're on a short episode tonight. Go look up the story behind the backlot brawl. There is some, it's only, as you could say, only Roddy Piper. It's great.
Do y'all think at 13 is too low?
His longevity bothers me, but I think he's the greatest heel of all time. Listen, there's stories about Roddy and the reason he retired all the time. One of those, the Undertaker tells in his 6 foot, what is it, Dead Man 6 Foot Under, whatever podcast that's out now. He talks about Roddy had been subpoenaed to testify in some kind of court trial, and Roddy didn't want to show up, so he had the Taker spike him, and he just faked himself right out of the WC. Didn't show up for the trial. That's Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, with you at number 12, Kurt Angle.
Underappreciated. Best performer. I've heard it said by so many people. Dory Funk being one. Kurt was there. Kurt's biggest sin is he's part of the generation of the greatest WWE stars of all time. Kurt was a freak of nature. Again, refused to go to rehab, quit the WWF, went to TNA, and at the time he was in TNA, it rivaled AEW at its height, and it really was the big TNA became real competition for the WWE during that height. Kurt Angle, if he would have stayed longer, would have been higher on the list. But I do think, and great him and Steve Austin, skit where he's got that little cowboy hat on. I laugh every time I think about it.
Jeremy.
I completely agree. I mean, to me, he's one of the best wrestlers that there's been because, and you know, from what I read about Kurt and what I heard about Kurt is he took to it just like that. Said he was a natural when it came to WWE, and you know, changing. Obviously, real competitive wrestling and this is different, and he took to it so quickly. And I'm with Randy. I was going to mention it if he didn't. His comedy, his everything, his facial expressions, everything. You know, I can't remember if it's the same clip, but I saw one the other day where he's trying to get the Undertaker to break, you know, and the Undertaker's doing this, you know, trying to, you know, because I think that was a competition back then to try to get him to break character. But Kurt Angle, fantastic. And let me tell you, there's nothing greater than an ankle lock in a big match. So when he put that ankle lock on, yeah, it was legit.
If timing was a little different, I don't think Kurt Angle becomes Kurt Angle in the WWE. I think he probably ends up as a UFC fighter. But he's just earlier on that curve than the Brock Lesnar was.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to add this about Kurt Angle. Another thing is, you know, you think of him as a grappler, you know, because of his background and stuff. But, I mean, he started doing moonsaults and all kinds of crazy stuff as he developed. Probably shouldn't have, but, you know, he expanded his arsenal over the years.
You know what? All it needs to say is he won the Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah, he did.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was fixing to say. Dad, burn you.
So, have y'all watched that? Have y'all watched that documentary on Kurt Angle?
No.
You should. Completely should. It's excellent. I think it was on Netflix or something.
All right, we'll go with number 11, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Jeremy?
Yes. He's got to be on there. He was a part of the boom of the WWF, along with Hulk Hogan, along with those. Macho Man belongs there. You know, not the biggest guy, but if you think about, I just want you to let's dwindle it down to just one thing. That storyline and that angle with him and Hogan as the mega powers, it's got to be one of the best angles there was, especially in that early WWF. So, yes, character-wise, everything.
Yes, not my favorite.
No.
It has more to do with maybe him as a person in the rumors and stuff that he's not a good person. No way you have this and he's not on it. And Vince McMahon, again, screwed Randy Savage over. Told him to quit wrestling and go home and be his announcer. He tried to make him into Ventura, the second Jesse the Body, and he wasn't ready to quit wrestling. So he just went to the WCW and had about 10 more years of good runs.
Right. Absolutely. All right, we're at number 10, going to Randy, starting it off with Bruno Sammartino.
Don't know how you lower him there. Let's remember the guy, 7.5 years. It was regional though.
Mm-hmm.
It was not the WWF, but the greatest WWF champ of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah, and I feel the same way. To Randy's point, it was a different company back then. Vince Senior owned and operated. It was a territory. It was a local. But yet you can't deny the fact that Bruno packed Madison Square Garden out on a regular basis, and his career, that longevity, and hold the title that long is. I mean, I know they tried to get make like Roman Reigns is rivaling that, but it's a different world, and he wrestled way more often. So that dang Stan Hansen.
A quick yes or no. Is that number 10 San Martino too low? Randy?
Too low.
Jeremy?
I'd say too low.
All right, number 9, Jeremy. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yes, too low. One of the great, one of the best wrestlers, in ring performers ever, if not the greatest. They always talked about, he wasn't necessarily the greatest promo or anything like that, but I agree. He's definitely in this list. Too low, in my opinion.
Randy?
Had a better personality than Bret Hart.
Should he even be on the list?
He should. He was the excellent, but made Stone Cold.
Yeah.
He took it. The reason I hate Hogan is he took it too serious with the creative side of it. Bret Hart is guilty of that. The whole Montreal screw job was Bret Hart. Even our boy, we won't mention his name until after the election because he's absolutely crazy right now. He said,
he is.
He said, how do I take the side of the good guy doing the wrong thing versus the bad guy, the bad person doing the right thing? And that's what the Montreal school job come down to. Deserves to be on the list. Probably my least favorite of the list so far, though.
Well, it just to add, he does seem to hold grudges to a certain degree. He can't seem to let Bill Goldberg. he can't seem to let that go. And he treated it like he actually won the title and he was being robbed, and it's a performance, right? To your point. So
yeah, a little too much for me.
All right, Randy, we're at number 8. Shawn Michaels.
God, how do you say Shawn Michaels is not in-ring excellence? I didn't like Shawn Michaels' character, and it was not my favorite. But when you rang that rope or rang that bell and he climbed between the rope, there was nobody other than maybe the man Ric Flair himself that could perform like he did. And I asked this question earlier. Who do you think of when you think of the other guy's greatest opponent? Well, when I think of Shawn Michaels, I immediately go to The Undertaker. And that's some pretty big shoes right there when you're talking about Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker might have been the greatest feud of that generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's either Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, or Austin and Rock. You take your shot, whichever one you like.
I'll take Michaels the Undertaker. Those last two WrestleMania matches are two of my favorite of all time.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeremy, we is at number 7. Triple H.
Yes. Yes. I don't think you can deny that. I think I don't know how people may criticize him a little bit because maybe there's a little nepotism. I don't believe that. I believe this guy worked his tail off. He was always tip top in physique. He was a great worker. He played a great heel. He could play a good baby face. You think about the matches he's had over the years with the Undertaker, a couple of WrestleMania matches there. They changed the business. Him and DX. So I'd say yes, and now he's making, to me, he's contributed to WWE being what they are right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Randy?
The WWE is better with Paul Levesque running it than it has ever been with Vincent Kennedy McMahon running it. And
I will agree.
The worst thing you can say about Triple H is he married into the McMahon family. But, okay, Vince McMahon had a son. He chose not to turn the company over to him.
Mm-hmm.
The company's in real good shape. But him as a wrestler, there was some, I feel like, that's Vince McMahon's son-in-law. We're always going to put him there in the spotlight. But it was different kind of spotlight. Like WrestleMania when he had Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead come out and sing him to the ring. That's not that he was the main, always the main event. They just always did some special things for him. The best match I've seen at a WrestleMania, probably live or tape, Undertaker, Triple H. It made the worst WrestleMania stomachable. And I do believe
stomachable.
I do worst WrestleManias, and that one match almost saved it. It was stomachable.
It was good. That's a new word. I like it. I'll be using that in my vocabulary on Friday night. Okay.
That's when Mr. Anderson runs over somebody. You can say that was a stomachable.
Well, he'll run over somebody. I'll tell you that.
We were there at that WrestleMania, Randy.
Yes, we were.
Yep.
We were there.
And,
all right, Randy. At number 6.
Who?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Snooki was there too.
Yeah. At number 6, and let me repeat it one more time. At number 6, The Undertaker.
Dang, way too low. How many times have I said Undertaker in this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've repeated number 6 3 times to let everybody know that for some reason he made it at number 6.
If I used to think about my Mount Rushmore and say, oh, it's Flair, it's Dusty, it's Stone Cold, and it's Mark Calloway, it's The Undertaker.
Yeah.
That is it for me now. I mean, Dusty and Flair built a generation in the 70s and 80s, and then I love if you haven't watched or listened to his podcast, do. There was so long that I wanted to be inside the loop of The Undertaker. Now that I get to hear it, he is a better guy than I ever thought he was. He's hilarious. So
yeah.
Well, there's somebody on this panel here that's not a big fan of the Undertaker's podcast, and let's just say I've never listened to it. So who does that leave left?
Oh
well, let me. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Honestly, Jeremy said I listen to the Undertaker. I don't like the host of this podcast.
I love the Undertaker, and to me, if I'm thinking about WWE, WWF, this is my number one, the Undertaker. Hey, look, 2 years from now at a Raw or SmackDown or event, that gong hits, that crowd will erupt, and it still does. Yeah. And his ability to start out in an era where everything was cartoony and gimmicky, and he kept that same persona, if you will, but was able to adapt and make it work. And then even, I know he went through the attitude as the American badass and all that to adapt, and that was good. But then when he went back to that Dead Man where it's supernatural and people know better, but they still love it, hands down.
So, one of the things I picked up about the American Badass was it was the Undertaker's creation to leave the WWE. And I think he was prepared to leave it was so bad when he became the American Badass.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready to jump to WCW, and he couldn't as the Undertaker, but he could as the American Badass.
Yeah.
So, the podcast is not really wrestling though, but hey,
No.
if you want to listen to an episode, Phineas and Henry Godwin did that episode. I laughed so hard today they actually made me cut it off in the office because I was getting in trouble that I was laughing.
All right, so I may have to give it another shot, but God love the poor host. That last episode I listened to, I turned it off. I was like, I don't want to hear it. I couldn't take it.
I don't really particularly care for him, and I just like hearing the Undertaker. Or, really it's the BSK guys when they're on there. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Godwins kind of like the feather bottoms that helps Cornette out?
Yeah. Dennis Knight's crazy. Dennis Gideon, that man has took one too many drugs.
Oh,
The
me.
bottoms is it.
The old feather bottoms. All right, Jeremy, we are at number 5, Roman Reigns.
I'm going to sit back. Keep my shirt down so my belly don't show.
I don't know. I struggle with this. I think he's too high for one thing. But I'm gonna say yes. I think you think about who's that he's in front of, but his career's not over, right? A lot of these guys we're talking about, their career is in the twilight or it's over or whatever. And I mean, you can't deny the last 4 years, 5 years after them cram. I used to talk with another guy about this when they were trying to cram him down our throats as a baby face. And I got so sick of him. I got sick of him. I got sick of Superman punches. I got sick of his dang vest, his hair. I got sick of it. The best thing that ever happened to him was Paul Heyman and him turning legit heel because people hated him anyway. And he's hit his stride. And I'll go ahead and say his entrance now, it's not the same. It's not on the level of the Undertaker, but for me, it's right up there when that entrance music hits and he comes out. So yes, I'm gonna say yes, but too high.
Randy.
Nobody needed Cody Rhodes more than Roman Reigns. He deserves to be on the list, but he deserves to be on the list for the last 5 years of work because prior to that, he would have been there.
No.
Nobody needed. He was not a babyface, and he is. You can cheer him now as a heel babyface, but golly almighty, is the bloodline the best storyline in the history of wrestling?
It very well.
It very well may be.
Yeah.
Well, the bloodline storyline can go on forever because there's 900 of them, so they can keep on bringing people in.
Hey, I may get
That's right.
But those Samoans are kind of like rabbits. They keep on keeping on.
I keep hearing about cousins and nieces and nephews, and I'm like, how many of those guys are there?
Hey, they've brought Jacob Fatu and Tagatoma just from other wrestling organizations. Now Zilla Fatu's ready for his. I mean, golly, bump.
Absolutely. I agree with Jeremy. I think he belongs on the list, but I think it's way too high. I mean, he, we talk about this list in 10 years, he may be a number top 5.
Mhm.
But as of right now, Undertaker should be ahead of him. Triple H should be ahead of him. He should be in the teens right now, in my opinion. But that's just some
Yeah,
fat boy
that's
from High
fair.
Point.
He's the
No,
greatest.
that's fair.
He's the greatest story right now, and I'm not sure that the maker of the list didn't do this to ensure his character more than the list, Purity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, we're at number 4, and we're with Randy Cunningham with John Cena.
Absolutely, and I hate him. I never enjoyed Cena.
Well, guess what? After next year, you won't have to watch him no more.
Look,
Yeah.
I like him better now than I did then. He was the hokiest good guy for decades. They needed to expose the real John Cena a little bit, and I kind of
Mhm.
I kind of dig this guy more than I did that guy.
So will Cena end up going down? I think there was one other guy that we've talked about, Steamboat. Will him and Steamboat be the only 2 guys that's never went heel?
Oh, he did go heel. He was a heel
Yeah.
with Valley. He was
Early
a heel for Cornette.
prototype.
The next Ric Flair, not the next super good guy.
I'm talking about as far as his run in the WWE. His run in WWE, he hasn't been a heel. He's been a face the whole time. So unless something nuts goes on, he'll start and finish as a baby face from when he first started in WWE until he retires next year.
The most booed baby face in history. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let's go, Xena. Xena sucks. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
But he got a reaction.
Yes.
He got so I'll go back to 2010-ish up till now. That 2010 plus John Cena. I agree. It was a little bit hokey. It's almost reflecting back to the 80s WWF. Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Type character. But the era that they were in, what were they trying to do? They're trying to appeal to a PG audience, and kids love John Cena. And I'm pointing at it because I got his picture over here on my computer. But they love John Cena.
They do.
They bought his shirts. I mean, my son had a hat, had a shirt, had a spinner belt. I think at one point. He
had to
appealed
have the wristbands too.
He had the wristbands. So, it depends on what you think. He was Hulk Hogan in the 2000s to me because his matches were the same. You got the pretty much the same gimmick. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, hustle, loyalty, respect, give your best. He belongs on this list and he belongs up here high. Yeah. But I liked him for a little while, but it gets old because I think they missed a great opportunity. It's too late now for this Joker to turn heel because I saw little flashes of heel John Cena, and hey, he could have done it.
Randy, you have to read it. I can't see
it. From Tammy Walker Douglas, Connor had the headbands and the wristbands.
Hey, look,
the Connor we're talking about, Randy. That's Connor Andretti's mom.
I know that, Connor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Hey, Tammy, thanks for watching. I don't know why you're watching 3 guys talking about wrestling.
I don't either. We don't either.
We appreciate you.
About to make the comment he was that now he will not. Thank God.
No, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to lie. I may have tried on the Cena wristbands and the headband. I'm just saying. Micah may have got a 5-knuckle shuffle. Maybe.
Think about it. Some of the stuff that we did back in the days,
Yeah.
DHL will be called on us.
That's
Or
right.
DHR.
Yeah.
DHL's the delivery company. But anyway,
Well, thanks, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy, that's how most people find us.
Yeah. Yeah. We appreciate you taking a break and spending it here.
We're long-term entertainment, but we can sure entertain you in the short run.
Yeah.
absolutely. So John Cena, number 4. We're back at Jeremy with number 3, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes. I don't think there's any doubt about that as far as he's still showing up from time to time right now, like him or lump him. One of the greatest, and Randy mentioned it, one of the greatest feuds. Rock Austin. I think he has to be on here.
Hold on. Tammy Walker Douglas said you guys are great. I just want to correct her. I'm great. The other two are just kind of here. Go ahead.
Tammy, what are you drinking tonight? Anyway, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Must be in the liquor.
I'm more concerned with what Randy's drinking if he thinks he's the only one great. Especially that hat he's got on. Dwayne, yeah, and there's more to come from him, albeit in spots. But I think there's still some loose ends to tie up with this bloodline feud. And his appearance, if he'd have showed up one more time, boots to asses, bring it, Rock Johnson. I don't know if I'd have been as enthused. This persona, the final boss. I like it. I like the heel work he did leading up to WrestleMania. There's more to come. So yes.
Randy.
Austin Rock headlined 3 WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Cena Rock headlined 2 WrestleManias. Probably 5 of the biggest 7 or 8 WrestleManias in history.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is on anybody's list.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not my favorite until, and I don't think his career is really long enough either to be this high. But golly, what a rocket was strapped onto his butt But everybody needs something. He needed the Nation of the Domination to become Rock.
Because
Sucked.
he went from die Rocky die to
He was almost let go or released, however you want to say it, back in WWE. What, 25 to 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Vince was giving up on him and getting ready to do something else, and then all of a sudden, it seemed like the switch was turned on, and off he went.
He talked Pat Patterson into letting him make that famous promo. That's the Rocky Die promo with the Nation of Domination, and it
was good.
His whole career. Within a year, he was hosting Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Hey, so on that, here's what you have wrestlers that say, "Hey, I got saddled with a stupid Vince gimmick," and they have, and they don't get over. And I think, and I've listened to Jericho before, and instead of getting mad and pouting about it or being controversial or antagonistic about it, Vince will listen he did listen to, and he fought for his spot instead of saying, "Hey, this is a crappy gimmick." And we all agree it was. It's even hard to watch now. That Rock, I just can't stand it. But he fought for it and found something that worked. And kept it. Huh?
The ring.
Yeah. Here we go. And if we're not getting there, this list is definitely crass.
Yeah.
Right?
So 2 things real quick. One, I always loved it when The Rock came out and sung.
Yes.
It cracked me up every time. 2, are we actually allowed to say Vince and Saddle in the same sentence with everything that's going on?
Hey, I was going to say, John Cena sent more people home happy than a Chinese massage parlor earlier, and I changed it. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh.
We're at number 2. Number 2 with Randy Cunningham. Real American, Hulk Hogan.
he goes in that Cena category, except he maybe was working in the massage parlor. How can you not say Hogan's on the list? But worst human being ever in the history of wrestling, other than Buck Zumoff, who was in prison for marrying his 12-year-old cousin.
Oh my gosh.
In there.
We have went all, where are we at? I thought you was gonna say Grizzly Smith or something. I don't even know who Buck Zumoff is.
I'll go ahead and say right now, guys. Yeah, Hogan deserves to be on there. And if Hogan's not on this list, we're probably not talking about this list today. Hogan kind of made the WWF back in the day.
I hate Vince Russo, but I will give money every now and then when I just get down and out. Life's too hard for me. I go listen to that Russo promo when he handed the world title from Jarrett. He called him every form of a piece of crap that he could think of. And I can listen to that. My day's better.
Jeremy, Hogan deserves to be on it, yay or nay?
So yes, absolutely. Because like
high?
you said, no, he's not too high. I mean, he's probably about right. But you think about the same thing. I mentioned it with Cena. He played that role in the WWF, becoming what Vince Jr. wanted it to be, which was to get away from what Vince Sr. had built. And, he broke into mainstream. He was in Rocky. That's really what took off. So, in ring, no. But he had that charisma. Timing was right. WWF would not be WWE right now without Hulk Hogan. And still the most recognizable name in professional wrestling. So you could talk to anybody who's never turned on a TV and watched anything wrestling, and they're going to know who Hulk Hogan, at least know what Hulk Hogan did or what he's famous for.
Yeah, go ahead and say it, Randy. If you're watching any politics right now, you can hear Hulk Hogan now.
It's bald spot in history of wrestling. I don't know.
I mean, he's got one, but he's got the 24-inch pythons, brother.
Turn on certain news channels. You can see them giving political advice right now.
I don't want any political advice from anybody that's took chair shots to the head.
Hey,
or anybody that.
Oh, go ahead.
Or anybody that fell off a scaffold and broke his knee or tore his leg off.
Hey, folks, love him, but avoid Cornette for the next 4 to 6 months.
Quick question, Tammy, if you're still listening, I know Connor didn't have the Hulkamania shirt, but did you have the Hulkamania shirt running around? So let's go to number 1.
Hey, we've been around long enough. I could have the American-made T-shirt before we started wearing the Hulkamania gear.
You probably got the Thunder Lips tights, don't you?
I will leave that to the imagination, or let you guess. I'm not gonna say.
The best was the best there ever been, the best there is.
I don't know.
I don't know
if Bret Hart's ever been compared to Shoe or not, but he has tonight twice.
I thought you was saying that was Goldberg's shoe. That's what Bret Hart saw right before his career ended. Sorry, Bret Hart. I know you'll never see this, but it's Bret Hart's view before his career was over.
He'll sue us.
Hey, one of the best things that probably did ever happen, all seriousness, was Hulk Hogan being on Rocky 3 as Thunder Lips Patterson there. That kind of put the word out as far as wrestling.
Now, after that, his acting career was terrible. But that was good.
Kind of like Mr. Nanny or whatever it was. So.
Thunder in Paradise. All right, let's get to number one. Get on out of here. It's past my bedtime by 3 hours already. Number one,
up, Howie.
Starting. Yeah, this water I'm drinking is not helping me out none. Number one, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Jeremy?
Yes. I may flip-flop him and Hogan because I would flip-flop these two because WWF wouldn't be what it was at the point that Stone Cold came in. It's a toss-up because WWF might not have made it if it wasn't for Stone Cold. It kicked off a whole new era of wrestling. And hey, look, he fought for his gimmick, came in as the ringmaster. You know, they wanted to call him Chili McFreeze.
Dagger.
Huh?
Ice Van Dagger. Just a word, and it's the only word I got. I believe Jeremy said, if you've never heard anything wrestling wise and you know Hulk Hogan, I believe that's an age thing. If you're our age, it's Hulk Hogan, you'd know. But I think if you're under 35, it would be Stone Cold Steve Austin over Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So you pick your poison, who the bigger star was. To me, it's Austin, number one on the top of the list. So, because he was better in ring. He also was more willing to work with other people, more willing to put other people in the start. Also, nobody walked away cleaner than Steve Austin did. It's ugly most of the time when those guys walk away. Steve Austin's one of the few that walked away and stayed gone for 15 years and didn't work, and finally did come back and didn't work a match, but worked kind of a fight with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, well, and back what I said about The Undertaker, and his entrance and all that. 5-10 years from now, if that glass breaks, you're going to get that same reaction because they know that means Stone Cold. And so I missed this period of wrestling live anyway. I've caught up. So I don't really know. I don't get, even though I'm watching it now, I don't get to feel what I would have if I'd have been watching it, when I was in my late 20s, mid 20s, whatever I would have been at that time. I've lost track, but he is wrestling. Shorter career, WWF wise. He's got to be there. And would you consider? I'm gonna ask you this, and I'll shut up. So, to me, when it comes to WWF, there's anchors. You may have stars that rise and fall, but there's anchors. So we talked about Bruno, and Bruno basically being that anchor for the WWF. Would you call Hogan the anchor for the 80s and that nature? And maybe Stone Cold, that anchor for the 2000s, at least the early part of that. Would y'all consider that to be the case? That they were the anchor that,
they were the face of the company.
Yeah. And then maybe throw Cena in here in this latter part. The
gap between the 80s when Hogan leaves to the 90s when Austin takes over, that the WWE became unwatchable.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they wasn't on the list. Dusty, Flair, Undertaker, Austin, and I don't know how my list would ever. And you know what? Terry Funk's over in the corner watching them and just waiting one of them to slip up and take their spot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Some of the people that y'all thought could have been on the list that wasn't on the list, like you said, you know, in today's age. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Randy.
WWE wise, Ric Flair should have been on the list because he's one of the greatest 20 even in the WWE ladder in his. I think he's burnt so many bridges with the WWE over that he has. Eddie Guerrero should be on the list. If he doesn't die, he was in the midst of a 5-year run that was at the top of that. You know, he was working with the Lesnars and the Undertaker, and he unfortunately his death ended that. One out, and I really believe this is the greatest overlook to me on the list. And I will always be a fan, and he may not be the most popular person in the world, but I don't know how you have this not Scott Hall on it. And to me, it's the look in the because that Razor character for a decade was fire.
Hey yo.
Jeremy,
anybody you think should be on there?
You know, I think about, you know, I think Eddie. I agree with Eddie. I agree with Scott Hall. Flair definitely, even though he was at the back half of his career, like his final run, but he held the title. He brought the World Heavyweight Championship belt to WWE or WWF, you know, and so I think you got to put him on there. You know, there's not really anybody else that I can think of. I mean, I'm going to say this, and it's not going to be popular, but it doesn't deny what he did in the ring. Okay, so let's specify. It's not because there's people on this list, and Randall said it, that probably are not good human beings. Truth be known, that probably a lot of them are not good human beings. But Brock Lesnar has to be mentioned in there somewhere. Based on his in-ring contribution, I think you go a step further. Chris Benoit, even though what he did was horrible, his in-ring and what he did could possibly be mentioned. But I don't think he did enough.
Yokozuna.
Yokozuna?
I got one for you guys. What about Rey Mysterio?
Oh, another good one.
Yeah, most famous luchador probably in the history of the WWF. I got another one. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
I forget how long he was there, but it was really a good run.
It was a good run. The quietness says it all. But I always thought he was my favorite. He was one of my favorites. The heel gimmick.
You know, I remember him as a manager of Andre more than I do wrestling in the WWE.
Yeah.
The one guy that really wasn't in the world title picture that had an incredibly long run in the WWE that is still there, has been there 20-something years now. And it's hard to just kick out the Miz's contributions to the WWE over 20 years.
I agree. And often overlooked.
It is. Kurt Hennig is another one I think that could be on this list.
And you mentioned him in the beginning because you mentioned comedy. Ron Killings should be on this list.
You can do
Long,
this, or you can do that.
I'm telling you, he's the best. When it comes to comedy, and the guy can work too. It's not like he's a hack in the ring.
Former NWA world champion. When Little comes marching home, hurrah, hurrah, greatest promo ever. Oh, you can take your money, but I'm going to keep the world title shot.
So if R-Truth is going to be on there, shouldn't Little Jimmy be on there too?
Oh, yeah, the greatest. Look, yeah.
I mean, they're a pair. They come together.
52 years old and still looks like $1 million.
Oh, he looks great. He looks fantastic. His comedy, and I don't know if did I send you. You remember just 2 months ago when Shannon Sharp had that incident where his IG Live was on while he was having fun. Did you see did I send y'all the Ron Killings comment? It was the greatest, and then he posted that video himself. I think it was like the next day. Fantastic. We need more people to make us laugh in this world.
Yes,
we got plenty making us mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of the potential candidates. That's my last word for the night. Good night. God bless. Howie, take us home.
Good night. God bless. Hit the end button, Randy.